Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has stressed the importance of continuing the reform of electoral laws and the need for swift action to implement necessary changes in the country. Yakubu said this when he addressed members of the National Assembly's Joint Committee on Electoral Matters during a retreat in Lagos on Monday. Reflecting on a similar retreat held in 2020, which led to the passage of the Electoral Act 2022, Yakubu highlighted how that reform had modernized the electoral process. This reform, according to Yakubu, addressed legal gaps, enhanced technology usage, and incorporated recommendations from past electoral reform committees. The Inec chairman noted the importance of collaboration between Inec and lawmakers who bring valuable political experience to the table. This move by Inec to, work on swift electoral reforms, it's not the first time we've actually gotten this information from Inec. What's the possibility that this it's not going to be a continuation of lip service, if I may say that, please?
You have summarized it, and it's just lip service. So, one thing about me is, if you tell me lies the first time when there's no need for you to tell me lies, any other truth you tell me, I won't believe it.
You said if you've been told that continuously, and can you repeat yourself again, please?
If you tell me lies, when there was no need for you to tell me lies.
What if I did not want you to know the truth, and then I just lied to you so that
is what I'm saying, and I discovered that you lied to me.
Okay, and I lie again.
If you come next time to tell me the truth, I won't accept that your truth.
What if at the time I had to lie to save you from being hurt?
That's what I said. When there was no need for you to lie.
How do you know there was no need for me to lie to
you?
No. I could tell you something that you didn't want to hear, but or tell you something you wanted to hear, but that's not what you wanted to hear. But because I did not want to hurt your feelings, I could say that.
Mahmood.
Okay.
Mahmood lied to us. Mahmood lied to Nigerians that this time around we are going digital. The beavers. Everybody was talking beavers, and they made us to understand, believe, and accept that this is going to be the best election to be conducted in this country. Check your records. The highest votes, highest people that ever come out to vote during national elections was in the past election. Not the ones they used to allocate number. We are talking of real people. It was this time around that you saw the real election. Let me land so that it won't seem as if I'm contradicting myself. In the time past, let me use 2 samples. In Abia State, there's a place they call Osisioma. That's a determining factor for whosoever that win election as a governor in Abia State. They will allocate hundreds of thousands to Osisioma. Obingwa. Then, in Nigeria, they will hold Lagos and Rivers. That's where they will allocate numbers. In Rivers, you will see 1.something million, 2.something million votes. In the time past, so when it was analog. But this time around, even with the whole Magomago, it was no more than 200,000 votes. What happened? So, now, there wouldn't have been any need for them to manipulate. But they decided that they would still manipulate. People, they told us that the system would work this way. The moment you are voting, it is transmitting the result electronically, immediately. It's not issue of a letter because... But what happened? They switched it off at the back end. You only carrying empty matchbox going as a electoral officer. The ad hoc staffs carrying those things, people do, it's not transmitting. They remove the network. They disembarked the network from the back end. So how do you, at the end, they started manipulating the figures. Now every day, he will come up with one rhetoric or the other that the reform is ongoing. This time around, this, that. I don't even, so when I heard that, I didn't bother going through this because it's the same story. It's the same story.
So from this analysis you've made mention, does it mean that's coming 2027 for the 2027
we are not going to see any...
There won't be any changes in the electoral
process?
No
change. As far as Mahmood is concerned, there's not going to be any change. Nobody should expect any change, except we change Mahmood. That's the only change we need to see. But from Mahmood, there's not going to be any change, except Tinubu changes Mahmood.
Well, Barthokuru, now you're trying to put it on an individual aspect. I'm not going to agree with you on that part.
You have your own rights.
I'm not going to counter you on that part of changing Mahmood because Mahmood is an individual.
Do you believe what I said now?
Independent National Electoral Commission is a national body.
Yes.
And it's a commission that is being governed by the federal government, and Mahmood is an individual. Does it mean that Mahmood has so much power to oversee the
He is the one in charge. He is the one entrusted with the powers.
So he does not make reports on that instance. So he's entrusted with the power that his policies will fall into the table, and nobody, the body of the federal government, or not say the federal government, because this is a federal government, part of the federal government body, the presidency in that instance, check on that part of the electoral process.
If we want us to go into the rigors of the checks and balances that should have taken place,
because you said that for the electoral process, the reforms to come, Mahmood needs to be changed.
Yes, he's solely in charge, responsible with the discharge of that electoral duties.
Change in personality, or what kind of change do you mean, please?
His personality would not change.
Or
not change. What I'm saying, I'm talking about changing him entirely.
Replacing him with someone.
Replacing him.
So you do not feel that
I don't have trust in Mahmood any longer.
So don't you think that structure has been there? So what's the possibility that the next person to come into office will, take a different step altogether?
These different steps in the right direction, or
yes, a
wrong
different
direction?
measure to the path that you to the reform process that you feel the right direction that you have stated.
This is not, it's not even a difficult thing.
If there has been a structure in that system, that's what I'm asking.
The structure is there.
So what's the possibility that replacing him would change it for the positive part?
What we are saying is that he had no reasons to bend or to do what he did in the last election. There were no reasons for them to manipulate the beavers and all the rest, all the system, electronic system they used. There were no reasons. Rather than corrupt mindedness. You know, when individuals are, you don't want to do the right thing. It's not as if these things are very difficult. The system they brought was to checkmate corruption, but they allow themselves to be pressured and used by the politicians to corrupt the system, to manipulate the system when there were no reasons to do that. That would have given them an edge. He said, in fact, go and do your work. Go and campaign. Let people, talk to people. If they believe in you and vote for you, it will show. But they did not want that. Because of certain reasons best known to them, because they don't want Nigeria to work. That was why they had to bend the system to work in their own way.
So in essence, you have the thoughts that unless there has been a replacement, the Inec office, which is replacing Mahmood, that the electoral reform will not come into place in
It
Nigeria.
will not come into place.
Well, we've had your thoughts on that, Barrister Okoro. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, has reiterated that the focus of the Apex Bank is to bring down the country's inflation to single digits in the medium term. Cardoso disclosed this at the conclusion of the 2025 International Monetary Fund and World Bank spring meetings in Washington, D.C. this weekend. This comes as Cardoso admitted that inflation is the most disruptive force against Nigerians' welfare, emphasizing the urgency of tackling inflation to stabilize household incomes and improve the cost of living across the country. Recall that Nigeria's inflation declined to 24.28% in March 2025 from 23.18% in December 2024. During the 2025 budget presentation in the National Assembly, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu hinted at reducing the country's inflation to 15%. However, an economic expert, Bismarck Wayne, said Tinubu's 50% inflation project for 2025 is unrealistic. Before now, there's been a certain, just referring back to the poverty index in the country, you know, what's your thoughts on this, please, Barrister?
I think this report we just read now have answered that. I told you here that they keep making bogus statistics, bringing up bogus. That this thing is talking about bringing it to a 15% digit is not good. It's unrealistic. It's not going to work. First and foremost, how is your fiscal policy? How is your monetary policies? How do you marry the two? So these are, if you want to bring down the inflation, you have to work on your fiscal policies. You have to work on your monetary policies. If these two do not synergize, you are just wasting your time. You will be singing reggae for nothing when you need to sing blues. So it's not going to work. They are not ready to make Nigeria work.
So what you keep saying is not going to work, it's not going to work.
Why I keep saying that is that we are seeing it now. There are things they need to do.
So you don't think that this word is to
they
make
don't have the willpowers to do that. That is the issue. They don't have the willpowers to do that. You want to know why? you need to tackle corruption when you want to get the economy work. Corruption needs to be tackled. And you cannot tackle corruption, you cannot ask dog to watch over bone. Is it possible?
That's an adage, I know. Yeah, it's not possible.
So it's not.
So
You can't use corrupt individuals, people that don't have good track records, to surround yourself, and you expect the best.
Okay, I'm going to end with this question, Barrister Koro, on the part of system and structure. Don't you think that's another reason why this whole situation is like this? Although the CBN governors have also made the statements here that the CBN is working to bring down inflation in the country. You know, in that part, do you think the system and the structure of a particular economy can also affect situations like that not working?
You only twisted what I said.
I twisted what you said.
Yes, you only twisted.
I asked if a system or a structure that has been positioned in a particular economy not help situations like this work.
The structures over time forms the system. You understand?
Okay.
The system is what keeps the economy going, keeps the political, the politics also running. Is the system, and these systems are made up of structures. It's just like the human body. You have ultimately the organ, but these organs are made up of cells, arteries, and other smaller components of the body to form the. Ultimately, you now have the organ. The organ makes up the whole system of the man or the human. So that is how it is for the economy.